Go.
Hey, Hoop Ballers. Welcome to the pregame show for this jam-packed Saturday night. Well, not really. There's only a few games. A bunch have been postponed, but there are some exciting games tonight. And we have some exciting news updates to bring you here before the NBA action kicks off. Happy to be joined here by Adam King. You can find him on Twitter at AdamKing91. You can see our Twitter handles down below. I'm Brent, the middleman, known as Brent Middleman on Twitter. We're excited to be here representing Hoop Ball on this new live, pregame and primetime postgame shows that we're going to be doing for you, hopefully daily as we ramp up here on the YouTube channel. So make sure you like and subscribe to the video so you don't miss any. Click that notification bell so you get updated whenever we come live on the air. Adam, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Enjoying my weekend over here. And yeah, as we mentioned, it was going to be a pretty quiet show. But then half an hour ago, 40 minutes ago, we got a tweet from Shams saying that Boogie is on the move. We don't know where he's going or when he's going. But yeah, I think we're going to touch on that here. And I mean, we might as well lead off with that unless you've got other plans.
Yeah, no, that sounds good to me. I mean, just like pretty much anyone in Texas these days, he wants to get the hell out. So other than Joe Rogan. So, yeah, it looks like the Rockets have decided to go young, go small, whatever it is. I think mostly go young. And there's just not really room for Boogie on a rebuilding team. And I think it's good for him. They're giving him time to latch on to a contender, which is most likely where he's going to end up. When I first saw the news, my initial thought was, oh, Boogie's going back to the Lakers, where he spent a year coming back. I know him and Harden have some beef, so I don't know if the Nets are a possibility. Toronto's out there looking for a center right now. They're rumored to be a player in the Andre Drummond sweepstakes. But Boogie could be a cheap option for a lot of teams. I mean, the Warriors are there as a possibility. They've had some center problems, although I read that Wiseman and Looney might be back as early as Tuesday, but they still don't have Marquise Chris. They're still really undersized on that team, so there may be a dark horse candidate. Adam, any thoughts on Boogie, where he might end up, if he's got any gas left in the tank from a fantasy perspective? What do you think?
Yeah, look, I think we've seen that he doesn't have a whole heap of gas left, and he's even in with Wood out, he's really only been topping out at about 25 minutes. I think he had one game where he played more than 30, but other than that, he hasn't been great. And yeah, look, so I was on the blurb shift this morning, and as soon as that tweet came out from Shams, I think there were beat writers from every team almost tweeting out saying, bring Boogie to insert team name. So the Hornets, there was a few Hornets guys there saying we could do with a center. I think Miami are another team. And I guess it depends on whether he wants to go to a contender or whether he wants to play. I would probably lean towards him wanting to go to a contender, just because, I mean, he'd have to know within himself that he's not a starting center anymore on a long-term basis. So, but there was something just sort of came out then. I'm just reading it now that he's expected to start on Monday against the Bulls. So I guess while they have come to this agreement that he's on the way out, it may
They're going to wait for Wood to come back.
Yeah. So it could be another week or so before we actually get any information. But yeah, so look, I think all those teams you mentioned would be interesting. So we'll just really have to wait and see. I'm sure there are going to be plenty of updates coming and rumors and all sorts of things flying around. So as I mentioned in his blurb, if you are holding him, if you picked him up when Wood went down, you just have to hold on to him here and wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think even if he goes to a team for playing time, he's really only got 20, 25 minutes in him on a nightly basis, even if he's on a team that's not any good. And I think most of the contending teams, he could probably still get 20 minutes a night on a few of those teams that we mentioned. Charlotte's an interesting one because we don't normally put the words Charlotte and contender in the same sentence, but this season, they actually have been playing really well. They have a really nice young core of players that have been playing great. They have an all-star caliber player in Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier. Arguably is right up there too. I think, he could be a nice, veteran presence on that team, alternating time with Zeller. Zeller is not the center that will be starting on any team that's going to be contending for anything. No. Charlotte certainly needs to upgrade. PJ Washington's shown that he's not really ready to play center yet in the NBA, I don't think. So that's an interesting fit for Cousins there, because I think he could get the combination of being on a contender and playing time with a team like the Hornets.
Yeah, no, look, it's going to be, as you said, Zeller. I mean, he's fine, but he isn't a difference maker. So, maybe Charlotte do. And as you said, they've surprised a lot of people. And I'm still, I mean, I don't know if you would have them as a contender yet, but if Boogie sees himself as having another couple of years left in him, then who's to say next year or the year after Charlotte aren't in a position where they are looking at contending? I mean, it seems like it's a really fun place to play at the moment with LaMelo Ball there, and everyone seems to be gelling really well. Look, maybe. But as I said, we wait and see. But I guess the question, I mean, looking at the questions here and stuff we've seen on Twitter and in Discord and that sort of thing is what is the fallout in Houston now that Boogie is gone? And I think we were sort of preempting this and saying, well, what are they going to look like for this week or two without Cousins or Wood? And it looks like they're probably going to have Cousins until Wood is back. So that's not going to happen. So I mean, which players are you sort of targeting once the dust settles here and Cousins is gone and Wood is back? Who have you got your eye on there?
Yeah, well, when Wood originally went down, I picked up Jayshawn Tate in a bunch of leagues. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's going to be the main, beneficiary of this extra time there, especially with Oladipo kind of being in and out of the lineup. They're probably, the way Houston's going, it looks like Oladipo will probably get some rest and have it taken easy on him for the rest of the season. So I think Tate's going to get big minutes going forward. He's really, I mean, maybe in the short term, PJ Tucker gets a little bit of a bump, but he could be next out the door the way things are going here. So it's kind of tough. It'd be interesting if they bring back like a guy like Caboclo or something like that as a dark horse, maybe fantasy guy. But I'd say the obvious answer is Tate with a big bump to like Oladipo, Wall, and those other guys, and especially Christian Wood. If somebody wants to sell low on Christian Wood while he's injured right now, he makes a great target because he's going to be let loose here for the rest of the season. Hopefully he stays healthy because he's going to be a monster.
Yeah, I hope he does. I've got him in quite a few teams, so I've been writing, and it's been pretty frustrating because we haven't actually had a lot of news on Wood. It was sort of, he's going to be reevaluated on a week-to-week basis, and then it seems like he's maybe getting closer, but then they sort of say, well, no, he's still limping and he's still a while off. So it's really hard to know. And I mean, I'm still expecting after the All-Star break for him, given that I think All-Star break it's only 2 weeks away now. So, yeah. But yeah, look, I would be thrilled if he came back this week or next week, but I guess we'll wait and see. And they're not going to push him. They don't want to rush him. And yeah, for me, I think it's Tate as well. I think he's been really good this season. Even when they're at full strength, he's still managed to carve out a pretty significant role on a nightly basis. So he would be the main guy. And obviously they're going to be going small. And I think Dan had mentioned in one of our chats there that perhaps PJ Tucker could be on the way out as well if they're going to look at buying him out. So that he can move over to a contender. So that would free up even more minutes for guys like Tate and Sterling Brown has been interesting. When he's on the court, he tends to put up pretty good numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel House is another one who we saw last year have a bit of a breakout. And he's been pretty up and down, but another guy to perhaps just sort of pick up and throw him on the end of your bench and wait and see how the minutes play out.
Yep, I totally agree. So I think maybe you want to shift gears here for a second. That may or may not be making their debut tonight. We haven't heard, and I think is on our thumbnail. We bring him up because he's had the potential to be a fantasy stud, across the board production. It hurts you a little bit in field goal percentage. But otherwise, I mean, this guy blocks, steals, rebounds, assists, and he's only 24 years old, maybe 25. So he's still super young, even though it feels like he's kind of been around forever. But he's on a team with a lot of injuries right now in Memphis. So there's a lot of minutes up for grabs. I think Clark is out. Anderson's out. A bunch of guys are out for Memphis. So there's definitely a lot of minutes there. He'll probably be on a restriction, I would think, at first. But he's a guy that I've looked to grab in a few places. He's a guy I've had where I could stash on IR up till now. I've had him stashed on IR in a couple places because I've always liked Winslow a lot. Do you think he has the potential to make any kind of impact coming back?
Well, yeah, I mean, based on what we've seen, he does. We know, as you said, he can do a bit of everything. His percentages are not great. That's probably the one downside to his overall game. But yeah, look, we've seen him put up standard league numbers before, and as you said, so he is playing tonight. He is active. They've announced that. So Winslow is playing.
Oh yeah, yep.
So yeah, look, I mean, he's obviously going to be on a minutes restriction given how long he's been out. But they also do only have, I think, with him they only have 9 players. So. And they've got Melton is one of those, and he's coming back off an injury as well. So they're going to monitor him a little bit. Desmond Bain is still coming back off an injury, so he could be limited. So, yeah, look, as you said, pick him up and just see what happens, see how he looks out there. We don't even really know what his role's going to be. He can handle the ball a little bit. He can play as a forward. He's pretty versatile. So, yeah, look, hopefully this injury is behind him now. He's had a pretty sort of bad run of injuries the last 2-3 years, long-term things. So hopefully he's been close to ready for quite a while, and they've just been really cautious with him and making sure that he's available. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how he goes tonight. Yeah,
hip injuries are nothing to play around with. Especially for him, it was lower back, and then we found out it was a hip. I don't know if he had one and then got the other, or if it's all related, but it's definitely they're probably definitely going to try to take it easy on him. His game reminds me a lot of Kenny Anderson too, who's on that team from a fantasy perspective. It's that kind of low scoring, but but stats in every category kind of output with worse percentages than Anderson, but. It's that same kind of, kind of sneaky fantasy value that you get from guys like that non-sexy value, that you get from a guy like Kenny Anderson or even a Draymond Green or Justise Winslow. Like these guys, they're not going to score 20 points a night, that they're going to contribute in enough places where you're like, wow, that guy's top 75. I didn't realize. And he's one of those guys, and he's probably available in pretty much any league unless you're in it with me. Then he's not, because I picked him up.
Yeah, I know he's available in most of my leagues, and I think you mean Kyle Anderson there. You were saying Kenny Anderson, which I Kyle Anderson. I'm aging myself, and I do love Kenny Anderson.
When there was a Gary Payton Sr. and not just a junior.
That's right. There was only one. Yes. No, look, he is very sneaky. So, if he's floating around there, you just pick him up. If you've got an empty roster spot, throw him in there and just see what happens.
Totally.
Yeah. So we'll sort of we've only got sort of 20, 25 minutes till games lock for the night. So we'll just start working through the games, I guess. So we'll start with the Warriors and the Hornets. That's the first game off.
Speaking of the Hornets, here we go.
Yeah. So I'm just bringing up. I had too many tabs open this morning. So for the Warriors, we've got there was a tweet which came out, which doesn't really impact tonight's game, but it looks like Kevon Looney and James Wiseman are going to be back on Tuesday.
Yeah, they say there's a real chance, so that's exciting. But bad for Draymond, who's been blowing up. Although I think he could keep it going.
Yeah, I think so. I think, obviously his block numbers might take a little bit of a hit. He's not going to be playing as much center, but Green has shown that he's integral to their success, whether he's putting up sort of numbers or not. And just his relationship with the younger players, it's very similar to watching Chris Paul interact with the younger players on the Suns team. He's really a mentor, and they need him out on the floor just for his leadership and his veteran presence. So yeah, I think Draymond will be fine.
Yeah, I think it's really Toscano Anderson who's going to maybe fade back into a bit of obscurity. Although, the Warriors are a team during, when it's crunch time, they tend to go smaller. So I could see, them starting big. It's probably going to be really matchup based, but I could see them going with Toscano a lot, maybe towards ends of games, especially if it's tight or they're behind, to try to help get them back. And they've seemed to be hesitant to run Wiseman out there with too many minutes. And Looney's had such a bad injury history that they'll probably be taking it easy with him. So I could see Toscano still probably having a little bit of streamer value up until those guys get up and running. But if you've picked him up just to stream him for rebounds and defensive stats here, it's probably best to start looking at the waiver wire and getting ready to move on.
Yeah, I agree. They've shown already that they're hesitant to run Wiseman to close out games. And Looney, Looney's not the most appealing sort of fantasy guy in general anyway. So I think I put in the blurb there that Looney is, like, whether he's back or not, in terms of his value, it doesn't make a difference. But Wiseman is worth picking up because we've seen even in 20 minutes, 22 minutes, he can still block a couple of shots, and he's efficient from the floor. He gets a lot of dunks. And the rebound numbers are pretty good. So, and the Warriors are obviously very invested in him and want to get him on the floor as much as they can, but they still want to win games. So they just have to find that balance. Yep,
you're right. As far as the Hornets go, not a lot of news out of Charlotte other than them being a player in the center sweepstakes, potentially with Boogie and Drummond. Their name has been thrown out there a lot with those. But as of right now, Cody Zeller's back. He's doing what Cody Zeller does, which is help your fantasy team if you need a center. So no reason to not keep running him out there. Gordon Hayward is probable for tonight and looks like he's going to play. He's awesome. LaMelo, has just been rookie of the year so far, I think, by a lot. Rozier's had what you could consider an all-star season. Any sneaky fantasy plays there on Charlotte, though, outside of those, kind of big four that I listed off?
No, not really. That's sort of it. I'm pretty sure, Hayward is playing. That was reported a bit earlier. I was just waiting for an official confirmation, but it looks like he's playing. PJ Washington is back, so it'll be curious just to watch how those center minutes play out tonight with Biyombo, Zeller, and Washington all healthy for the first time in a little while. Miles Bridges probably takes a bit of a hit there with all those guys back on the floor, but no, I think that you sort of covered it there. They're generally at full strength now. Devonta Graham is really the only one there who's not playing tonight who makes a difference.
Yeah, Malik Monk is sort of a sneaky play too. He's looked a lot better lately. He seems to be out of the doghouse. He's getting minutes. He's been a lot more efficient, which is good to see. So, he could be a sneaky guy in deeper leagues. Maybe a streamer off the bench while Graham's out. So keep an eye on Malik Monk. I've always liked him. He's still super young. I think he's only like 20 years old. He's just had a rough go of it on and off the court. And it seems like he's worked his way back and put in he's paid his dues. So I think, keep an eye on him. I think Charlotte's high on him. And who knows, he could be part of some kind of trade package for a guy like Drummond too. They might be showcasing him a little bit, and that's always good from a fantasy perspective when teams are showcasing a guy.
Yep, it is. So that probably covers it for that game. Next one is Miami and the Lakers. So starting with Miami, again, not really a lot there from a fantasy sort of watch list. I mean, we know who is going to put up numbers. Dragic is out, obviously. Still, Bradley's out.
Kendrick Nunn will keep being productive.
Yeah, Nunn will keep scoring. That's what he does when he gets minutes. I picked up Duncan Robinson just as a streamer today in one of my leagues.
Good move.
He's looked better in the last few games. A little bit like Davis Bertans, sort of finding his feet a little bit. So. Look, he's because it's a pretty low volume day today, with all the postponements and that sort of thing. So there is streaming to be found. So Robinson is probably the only guy that might be available that you could consider picking up. Anyone else there that you'd look at?
Yeah, I mean, I really Robinson. When that guy's, he's a streak shooter. He's a Bojan Bogdanovic. He's a Davis Bertans, and right now he's on a streak. So keep running him out there because the Heat love him. They love spreading the floor with him. They're going to give him the minutes, and he's making shots right now. So I would definitely roll with him. Kelly Olynyk has looked really good. He had a couple of slower games, which made us nervous. But overall, I think he's putting up like top 70, top 60 value, something crazy over the last couple weeks. I picked him up in a few places where I was lucky to be able to grab him. I think he's going to keep it going tonight too. He's looked really good. So, roll with the Heat players tonight against the shorthanded Lakers.
Yeah, and as you said, I think Jimmy Butler's going for 4 triple-doubles in a row, maybe. So I know he's probably not the player that is all about individual accolades and that sort of thing, but four in a row is pretty impressive. So that might be a little bit of extra motivation. And, I mean, look, it's a finals rematch, so they'll be looking for some sort of redemption there. So
yeah, absolutely. So what about on the Lakers side? What do you think with Schroeder and AD out? Is the Kuzma train going to keep rolling on with the newfound rebounding prowess?
Unfortunately, I think it is. Look, he's a guy that's hard to preach for in fantasy because he generally has a fairly empty stat set, but the minutes are there and we know he's going to jack up shots. And with Schroeder out, that's even more of a green light for him to go. So, look, I think Kuzma probably needs to be rostered at the moment. Alex Caruso and Taylor Horton-Tucker are probably the other sort of 2 fringe guys that will get a bit of extra run there.
Out of those 2, I was going to say, out of those 2, who do you like from a fantasy perspective?
Probably Horton-Tucker. I think
agree.
Generally in terms of fantasy production, he's a bit better. I think Caruso will play more minutes and he's a little more important to them in terms of an on-court, like a real life role. Often they close with Caruso anyway. So, but I think Horton-Tucker just has a little bit more upside there in terms of his ability to guard multiple positions. And so probably Horton-Tucker, although I've been let down by him a couple of times this season already. So it's
he's so intriguing. I mean, he's got that gift of being able to create his own shot and just get points. And I think I forgot who said it. Somebody, I think it was Jared Dudley, said he thinks that Horton-Tucker is going to be a starter next season for the Lakers. And we saw in the preseason just what that guy's capable of, and he's definitely got the gift to be a fantasy stud. And this could be, these games are a good moment where they need scoring. They're missing their, third best scorer, I guess, in Schroeder. Their second best scorer in Davis. They need someone to step up and do it. And I think Horton-Tucker, if he comes in and gets hot right away, I think he'll get more minutes and cut into Caruso's time. So we'll see. I'm excited by him from fantasy, but I've been let down too. I think he's a year away from really helping us. But if you're in a dynasty league, and people are getting nervous about him just based off these last couple games and having a chance but not performing, you might be able to sneak in and grab him in a dynasty league for next season. But I like his potential going forward. And I, you know what, I think, he has a big game tonight. I think they need the help, and I think he's going to get a chance.
Yeah, I think so. Look, I think they're going to give him opportunity whenever they can, and tonight could be the night. So yeah, look, and as I said, it's a low volume night. So if you've got a spot there, pick him up and see what happens.
I think Harrell gets more than 15 minutes tonight too, because Bam's really athletic center. It's a really tough guard for Gasol. I think Harrell gets more like 25 to 30 minutes tonight. It was a weird matchup, I guess, that last game where he had low minutes. So I wouldn't panic on Harrell. I think he'll make up for it tonight. I hope. I got him in a few spots. So
No, I think I can't see Gasol keeping up with Bam at all.
Yeah.
So I think you're right on there. So the next game is the Kings game. So Kings at Chicago. So we've had some recent-ish news around the Kings. So Harrison Barnes is out tonight, which straight away means Bjelica is a guy that you want to be considering. He went off in the last game. I wouldn't expect him to do. I think he had 27 and 8 and 3 steals or something ridiculous. So I wouldn't expect that again. But we know that he can put up numbers when he's given playing time. So and Rashawn Holmes is a game time decision. So still no. Just reading a tweet there. Still no confirmation on Rashawn Holmes. I hope he plays because I have him in a couple of teams. So I mean, I guess for the Kings, in terms of who we're watching, it's Bjelica, as I mentioned.
Just to answer a quick question that's relevant from the comment section here. Yeah, I would drop Grayson Allen and stream Bjelica because I think if Winslow returns, especially, that's going to cut into some of Allen's minutes too. So I think Bjelica is a much better stream option for tonight.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. I wouldn't be holding on to Allen anywhere, really. He's been pretty good the last couple of weeks, but they've had a lot of guys out. So if they start getting and the people that are out tonight are resting, they're not out for any length of time. So so they're going to be back to close to full strength.
Allen's got a lot of spunk, but I don't need that on my fantasy team.
No,
I need guys who are going to produce, and Bjelica, whatever you have to say about him, he produces when he gets the chance. And that's another guy who's being showcased, we think, which is fantasy gold up until they get traded to a team where they lose all their minutes. So let him get showcased, and then who knows, try to trade him for someone good before he gets traded in real life.
Whiteside, I mean, what are your thoughts on Whiteside tonight? If Holmes doesn't play, obviously there's a boost there for him, but we saw in the last game, he still only played 15 minutes even with Holmes out. So
yeah, I think Whiteside's sort of injury proof, matchup proof. He's just going to do what he's going to do, whether Holmes is in or out or whatever. He has his role, and that's just going to be his role no matter what. If you have Whiteside, it's for the blocks, and he's still doing that. So you're still going to get your 2 to 3 blocks, even if he only plays 15 minutes, or more than likely you will. Center's not a very deep position, especially centers that block. So yeah, I mean, if Holmes is out, I definitely want to get Whiteside in there. If you have him, you're probably playing him anyway because you need the blocks. So, yeah, he just kind of is what he is. I see guys like Bagley getting more of a boost with no Holmes in there. Bjelica getting more of a boost. At first I was excited for Whiteside, but then I kind of saw what was going on with their rotations, and now it's just like if I'm playing them, it's because I know I'm getting a couple blocks and 15 minutes out of them.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's Bagley who will get a bit of a boost there. Glenn Robinson is going to try and give it a go, it looks like, tonight as well. So he can play up at sort of the 4-5 if required. Whiteside's fine, but as you said, it's only really if you need the blocks and some rebounds that I would be targeting him.
Yeah, I think Corey Joseph might be a sneaky stream with Barnes out. He and then Daquan Jeffries is a guy they're really high on, just like a deep league name. He had 17 points. I think it was like 5 for 5. He was on fire. He came in, but it was a garbage time special.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't get too excited about it. And it was 17 points and literally nothing else. I don't think he even had a rebound or an assist or a steal. So, but it was only his 4th game of the season, and he's super young. So, and they started him like his 2nd game back from injury. So they definitely like him there in Sacramento. So if you're in a dynasty league or a deeper league, he's a guy to keep an eye on with Barnes's injury. I think he's leapfrog Glenn Robinson for that, for those minutes. So yeah, just, I know there's a lot of deep leaguers and dynasty guys out there. So yeah, keep an eye on him.
Yeah, and I think so. Someone put just one of the comments in here is to do with the Kings, and is it Tyrese we watch? Well, I think Halliburton. I mean, if he's on a waiver wire, then you have to change that very quickly, because he's a top 60 player or top 50 player or something. So, invite me to that league if he's if he's on the waiver wire.
I hope there's a buy-in. Yeah.
So for the Bulls. There's no real outs other than the long-term guys that we know of. So Otto Porter, who knows when he's coming back.
I did see they did have an update somewhere. I saw that he's at least doing more on-court work. So it sounds like he's getting closer, but nothing.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything before the All-Star break for Porter. Given this injury has been bothering him all year. It's not sort of something that happened during a game. It was something that he had, and then he came back, and then he was managed, and then he was out again. And,
that's sort of been the story with him the last 3 or 4 years, unfortunately. So much potential, still younger than you even think, and but he just can't stay healthy. This is one of those guys.
And it's interesting looking at him this year when compared to other seasons. He's certainly bulked up.
He looks
his
big.
Size.
Yeah.
And so whether that was a conscious thing on his behalf and on the team's behalf of trying to get his body just physically bigger and stronger to manage these injuries, and whether that's backfired
Apparently
little bit.
It has.
Yeah. So that was just something that I'd noticed, and I'm sure everyone has noticed. So Thomas Sadaransky is someone that I've streamed in tonight, purely because I need assists, and he's been pretty good. I wouldn't say he's been great, but we do know, again, when he was starting last year, he was a standard league player. So Kobe White has certainly not been incredible by any means. So Sadaransky, I think Sadaransky, if you're looking for a pickup just for tonight to stream in for some assists, then he's worth a look. Anyone else there that you've got your eye on?
Yeah, I mean, Thad Young's a guy who I think as long as Porter's out, he's going to keep getting, and he's averaging like 4 assists a game, 6 rebounds. I mean, a very strong stat line, not huge scoring, but you get the steals, you're getting boards, you're getting assists. So he's a sneaky guy who I think is going to maintain value as long as Porter's out. Wendell Carter Jr. has been back now a couple games. I mean, talk about a guy who's just been a huge letdown since he was drafted. He keeps showing these like sparks of greatness, and then he just falls back to earth for 2 or 3 games and we forget about him. But he has some potential there. Just not a ton to get excited about on the Bulls right now. The future is bright. Patrick Williams, Zach Levine is an all-star, which I called years ago. People used to give me a hard time about it when I wrote for another site I won't talk about. But they asked about Zach Levine posters on my wall. But he's really developed with his defensive stats and turned into a real all-star. But other than that, hard to get excited about really anybody else on the Bulls. Decent streamers for matchups, but not a whole lot there.
Yep. So the next game, I did just have a look at it. We've sort of touched on Memphis a little bit, but so they play the Suns. So on the Phoenix side, anyone there that you've got your eye on?
Yeah, with the Suns and the Grizzlies, Yeah, I don't know. The Suns are interesting. I get a lot of Hayward, which, by the way, If you go to hoop-ball.com and join and become a member, it's access to our Discord where at us are on there answering questions all day long. There's like 6 different threads.
There's a lot
for and some of the questions I get on there. Yeah. And I get a lot of questions about Cam Johnson. He seems to be sort of a popular off the waivers on the, streaming type of guy. It's hard to get a read on him. I mean, if you need threes, he's an interesting play. I don't get super excited, especially with Saric back. I mean, they're starting to get deeper now on the Suns. So, I don't know how consistent he's going to be. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Suns are one of those teams where, you have your like big four guys that you have to own, Paul, Booker, Ayton, and Bridges. And then everyone else sort of alternates big games. Saric is back from injury. He had a big game his first game back and then a dud. So he's got that potential. But I think with Crowder, Saric, Kaminsky, Johnson, I think they all sort of, leech off each other. And it makes it hard to trust any one of them game to game.
Yeah, the power forward huddle is just very, very hard to project. We saw Kaminsky started in the last game and scored 17 points in 15 minutes or something, but only played 15 minutes. And then Jay Crowder is sort of their default guy when the others aren't hitting their shots. They'll always fall back to Crowder, I guess, given he's a sort of somewhat of a proven asset. And then you've got, as you said, Saric, who was really good in his first game back and then hasn't done much since, and Cam Johnson, who's the future there. Look, it's really a dart throw with those guys. You just pick one and hope that you land and get them on the right night. So I wouldn't preach one over the other in terms of streaming for tonight. I guess Crowder is probably has sort of the highest floor in terms of the playing time and that sort of thing. So if I had to pick one, it would be him, but it's not with a lot of confidence.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then real quick, that Discord server is Hoopball Premium, I think is the name of the Discord server. You can get to it through the hoop-ball.com website. Yeah.
So it's for subscribers. So if you join up for the Fantasy Pass, which is still $4.99 a month, I think, then you'll get complete access to that Discord server. So for the Grizzlies, I mean, anything to talk about there? We've sort of, we know that they're down to 9 players or something tonight. So there's obviously going to be some streaming value there to be found. For me, as we've said, Winslow is worth a look, just because we don't really know what he's going to do. But it's probably DeAnthony Melton. We know he only needs 25 minutes to put up some nice numbers, so they're going to have to play him more than they played him in the last game because they just don't have enough bodies on the floor. So Melton is probably the guy that I'm looking at there. But you could make a case for all of them, really.
Yeah, look, guys like Xavier Tillman have stepped up when guys have been out. So he's maybe a guy to keep an eye on if you need defensive stats. He's not a great not a great shooter, but he gets to the rim and he's a good blocker and steals guy. So maybe some sneaky value there. Other than that, I think we kind of covered it earlier with the Winslow stuff. So, check out Justise Winslow on waivers if he's available. He's probably makes a good stream tonight with all the injuries. Just watch. He'd probably, we get around 20 to 25 minutes, I think, at the max, I would think. Usually they start guys like that at about a 20-minute limit. So we'll see what he does. But he can do a lot in that time, especially if he's going to be asked to be a secondary ball handler with Slow-Mo out and Clark out. He could get some rebounds and some assists. So he's an interesting stream tonight.
Yeah, I think you'd be looking at, like a sort of a stat set for him of like 8 to 10 points, but then you might get 5 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, a 3. So, a little bit of everything.
Yep.
So one more game. It's just the Wizards and the Blazers. So for the Wizards, they're all pretty much available except for, again, those guys that we know are out long term, Thomas Bryant and Ish Smith. Look, Davis Bertans, who we did touch on earlier, is probably the guy that needs to be talked about a little bit, because I think he had 35 in his last game with 9 threes or something. So he's obviously found his rhythm, and he came back. He was like one of these guys who you sort of expect them to come back and just hit the ground running and be putting up numbers like they did last season, but it's taken him a few weeks to get going on that offensive end. But it looks like he's turned that around. So I added him in 3 leagues, I think, just at the right time. And he has center eligibility in a couple of formats, which is really nice, because if you can get a center who hits 9 threes, you're not going to find that very often. So yeah, look, outside of Bertans, and then their center rotation is pretty messy. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on who you might target from the center spot.
Yeah, I mean, from a fantasy perspective, I think, Wagner has the most potential, with his 3-point shooting. However, he's very inconsistent. Not even with his game, just how many minutes he's going to get. We don't even know what the coach is going to do with him. Lopez is pretty good source of rebounds if you need it, but he doesn't block shots. He doesn't do much else. So I mean, Alex Len in the past has been a good fantasy center. He can shoot he can hit that corner 3. He blocks a lot of shots. He gets rebounds. So if I knew that Len was going to get the minutes, I'd probably lean towards Len out of those 3. But it's sort of similar to what we're getting in Boston, where it's just really tough to predict who's going to get the minutes, so it's like a dart throw. I think if you're looking for the highest ceiling, it's probably Len, just because of the threes and the blocks. And if you're looking for maybe the best floor, it's probably Lopez, just because you're going to get boards. And then Wagner's sort of that wild card. If he gets the minutes, he's going to be good, but he could easily just have 3 minutes too. So I don't know how helpful that is. I would probably just try to avoid it if I could.
Yeah, look, and I mean, so I'm looking at sort of transitioning there over to the Portland side of things. They have Enes Kanter, and then they don't really have a center. So
True.
Kanter's sort of, obviously when he's on the floor, they're going to probably want a big body on the floor. So it won't be, you wouldn't think it would be Mo Wagner. It would probably be Len or Lopez. And given what we've seen recently, it's probably going to be Len that starts. But once Kanter's off, they're going to be sort of playing Carmelo Anthony, Covington at center, which could mean some Wagner, but it could also mean Davis Bertans. As I said, he's center eligible. They may just opt to go really small. So, it's, again, that doesn't really help, but it probably just makes a bit of a case for picking up Len as a streaming option, because Kanter is really the only option for Portland outside of going really small, which of course they might opt to do that, because Covington, I think he has 10 blocks over his last 2 games. So he's more than capable of playing a small ball center, as we saw last season when he was with Houston. Yeah,
absolutely. And Covington's another guy I get a lot of questions about. What's his role going to be when Nurkic is back? And look, I mean, Covington, you probably drafted him unless you got him off waivers, because somebody waived him, which I know has happened in a few leagues. My brother, I kind of keep an eye on his league with him, and Covington popped up on waivers, and I was like, pick him up. Like, you have somebody worth dropping. But even when Nurkic is back, maybe this is the confidence boost that Covington needed, because we knew that Nurkic was going to be healthy when we drafted him in the 5th round, or, Covington in the 5th round, or whatever it was. He went in a lot of leagues. So, I would roll with Covington, be excited about it. I think it does probably mean Len is probably the highest ceiling player, like I was saying, for tonight and probably going forward. There might be some Mo Wagner mix in, but I like the point about Bertans playing small ball center. So I think Bertans is a great play tonight. I think Covington's a really good play tonight. From the Trailblazers, I'm just thinking I get questions about Gary Trent Jr. a lot. Should I play him or someone else? He's looked good. He doesn't give you a lot outside of scoring though. So, don't expect him to light up the, rebounds or assists or blocks or anything, but he can score, especially while McCollum's out. I think Covington, and if you're looking to stream someone, maybe Carmelo Anthony playing a little small ball center and getting some points, and then Gary Trent if you're in deeper leagues or you're kind of desperate for some scoring. But yeah, other than that, not these are those teams where you sort of know who's good, and then there's everybody else, and most of those guys who are good are probably owned somewhere. There's not a lot of sneaky plays that we can really give you right now.
No, not really. I think, as you said, Trent, we get questions about Trent, but he's rostered in most leagues, I think, at the moment. So maybe it's Carmelo Anthony, just purely because they need scoring. And we know that he'll try and score. Whether he actually will score is another question. But he's going to jack shots up. And so it's a sort of roll of the dice with him a little bit, but probably, again, worth a shot on a low volume night like tonight.
All right. Well, Adam, thank you so much for joining me for this pregame. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit the notification bell, because we're going to be trying to do these on a regular basis. We're sort of testing it right now, but as we head deeper into the season, this is going to be a regular thing where we have a lineup of people doing pregame shows and then postgame primetime shows on here live. We're also going to post clips from the shows so you can catch up on our hot takes about different things during the week. So keep an eye on that. Make sure you subscribe. Go to hoop-ball.com, become a premium member. It's only $5 a month. You can find that on your couch every month, I'm sure. And you basically get hours and hours of entertainment, chatting with us on Discord, talking to other fantasy players. It's really fun, and you get all the rankings and everything that you could possibly need for that. So it's totally worth it. Adam, any parting words here as I get ready to go watch the Warrior game?
No, I think that's it. As we said, fairly easy slate tonight. Only 5 games. I think tomorrow is a little bit busier. I'm not sure who's doing the show tomorrow. I'm sure we'll sort that out amongst ourselves over the next few hours. But no, look, it's been good. This has been our first show together, so it's always nice to jump on with a new face. Yeah, definitely. California meets Australia. So, go Dubs. Everyone enjoy your night. And, make sure you click the button so you don't miss any more. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.